Okay, John Zannis alongside CLNS Media, Patriots insider and draft expert Taylor Kyles. Were ripping through the Patriots selections in the 2023 NFL Draft. Day 3 brought some surprises, but a very clear sense of what the Patriots wanted to do in an area they were looking to fortify, and that was the interior of the offensive line after taking center Jake Andrews with pick 107. The Patriots doubled down, going with guard Sidy Sow at pick 117. And that's what we did. We're going to talk about Sidy Sow. We do want to let you know this segment is powered by FanDuel. Go to fanduel.com/Boston. Deposit 10, bet 5, get 200 in bonus bets right then and there. Again, fanduel.com/Boston. Let's get into Sidy Sow here again. Interior offensive lineman who was taken here, as we said, number 117 overall, 6'4", 323, an athletic, experienced lineman, 55 starts, 45 at left guard. How do you like this player in this pick?
Yeah, so I mean, he dominated. Obviously, like lower, not as prominent a program in Eastern Michigan,
Yeah,
but he
and
was
the
third
MAC
team
comp,
All MAC. Yeah, first team All MAC in 2021, first team All MAC in 2022, third team in 2020, and he was a 5-year starter. He played left tackle at first, and then for the rest of the time he was there after his first season, he played left guard. So a ton of experience. Obviously, we know Bill loves that. So the big thing with him is that he's very toolsy. He's an older player as well, so I know people were kind of concerned about, well, it's an older prospect who needs developing. But the way that you really got to think about it is these are just 4-year contracts. If these players are too old to do what you want them to do functionally, or they're not as good, or they want more money, etc., you get your compensatory picks. So that's why the Patriots are very okay with taking older prospects. Also, they have a good offensive line coach now in Adrian Clem, who they clearly have a lot of confidence in because they almost went 3 straight with offensive linemen on the interior. So I think they're trying to send a message for sure because both of the guards they actually selected are guys who are great athletes. They're big, they're physical, especially in downhill running schemes. But they need to be coached up, and they're probably not going to be guys that you want on the field consistently anytime soon. But he's the kind of guy where if he has to spot start, come in for an injured player, he's not going to be a total liability necessarily, especially if it's more mid to late season. But you're hoping that ideally, maybe by his second or third year, this is somebody who could potentially start for you, which obviously is important when you got, David Andrews is 30 years old. Oh, that's more Jake Andrews' territory now. Mike and Who's going to be a free agent next season. And Cole Strange is right now your fixture at left guard, but depth is really important. We saw when Andrews went down and Ferenc had to fill in, he was barely, functional as a center in terms of consistent competitiveness. So really was someone I think the Patriots realized like we need to bolster the interior of the offensive line, even if it's just for depth, because you got a pocket passer in Mac Jones, and obviously he was running for his life for a lot of last season. So I think this was a really good pick. It's a guy who's got a lot, just a ball of clay that Adrian Clem and Bill Belichick can mold, which I think is pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
As you mentioned, though, the age, that would be the one thing that you might talk about as potential drawback. You wonder how much room there is for development at this point. And this is, again, from the NFL.com draft profile, someone with a very high athletic score, number 2 graded out among guards in terms of the athletic profile. The production score was a bit lower, someone who scored kind of middle of the pack. So again, as you mentioned, older player, are you at all concerned here that someone who's basically 25 years old already has that much room for growth?
No, because you're going to a different system. It's like if you were to get, go to a job where it was the same job, but, you're just surrounded by better personnel. He's getting some of the best coaching in the world in football specifically. Coming from Eastern Michigan, which is a smaller program, you're not going to get top tier offensive line coaches from that kind of program. One of the few exceptions, I think, is Jake Andrews, because former Patriots co-offensive line coach Cole Popovich coached him, which I think is another reason the Patriots were like, all right, we feel a little confident going for this guy. But yeah, in the Patriot system with Adrian Clem, I think you learn new things. Sometimes just articulated in a way that is easier for people to process. Sometimes you just need to little tweaks in your technique that other coaches don't know how to iron out. So I'm much more confident in him in the Patriot system than I would in a really, really small football program.
The last thing, as far as Sidy Sow goes, again, as many of the things that we discussed, Taylor, less about the player and more about, why this position. Were you surprised again going double dipping at this spot, interior offensive line, in that fourth round, when again, at this point, there were tackle prospects on the board, still a couple of receivers, nothing too tasty, but certainly some names out there that you thought might have been a little bit more tantalizing, might have addressed direct areas of need. Were you surprised that they went, I wouldn't, not back to back, these picks were split when they also took a kicker in between, but two of their first 3 fourth-round picks were spent on interior offensive line. Did you find that at all surprising?
Yeah, because I think we all expected them to go with tackles because right now they've got guys who are older and Will Anderson, Calvin Anderson. I'm sorry, and Riley Reef. And then on the left side, Calvin Anderson is a guy who he's super talented. He's got a lot of physical tools, but he's also been around some of the best offensive line coaches in history in his career, including Scar. I believe it was Bill Callahan. And he's still, technique wise, isn't really there, even though he's on his second contract. So, you would have liked to see a more proven young tackle for them to at least develop and maybe take over midseason. But at the same time, Belichick was pretty effusive when he mentioned the fact that they really did bolster up on the offensive line. He mentioned Riley Reef's flexibility. He gave Calvin Anderson some praise. Yesterday, he mentioned, in free agency, we went pretty heavy on offense. And that was where they got 3 tackles. They re-signed Connor McDermott. They re-signed Yanni Kajus to a tender. And then they brought in Calvin Anderson and Riley Reef. So as much as, that's not top-end talent at the tackle position, we also saw like the Chiefs win multiple Super Bowls with Andrew Wiley, who's not the best right tackle in the world either. So, of the tackle spots to have a bit of a lack of top-tier depth, you'd prefer it to be on the right and with some guys who are either going to be familiar with your system or at least are good veterans who aren't going to get beat, mentally. It's more going to be like with Riley Reef, where sometimes some speed rushers are going to give him some trouble. But but it's also you got a pocket passer in Mac Jones, so you got to boost the interior. For sure.
You do. I do wonder again. Protect the interior. I think there was something that they definitely want, and you've seen. We're not making Mac Brady comparisons, but where did Tom Brady struggle the most? Pressure up the middle, pressure up the middle, pressure up the middle. So bolstering that, I do wonder if there's a world in which Michael Onwenu, who's so successful at guard and someone who they love at the guard position. I know Bill Belichick thinks that's where he's best suited, might kick back out to tackle based off of need, considering that they've added some bodies here to the interior, but that might not be necessary in year one for the Patriots here. I also think it would hurt your ability to re-sign Onwenu if that's what you wanted to do, if you have to pay him tackle money versus guard money. So probably benefits him to keep him inside. So again, Patriots double dip in the interior of the offensive line, going not back to back, but a few picks apart. Jake Andrews and then Sidy Sow with one of their 4th round selections. Keep it here, Patriots Press Pass. You subscribe to this YouTube channel for breakdowns of every single player the Patriots drafted. Taylor Kyle's digging into the film, and also check him out on clnsmedia.com for some more in-depth analysis.